Hello and welcome to Tristan's channel. Today I'll be talking about some ideas that they reckon might be in Phase 4. It's not definite. Again, with a lot of these things, it's with a pinch of salt. As you did some Marvel things in correlation to real world stuff. But yeah, and also I did my own theory. Well, I did one video explaining some of the reasons why some of the stuff they said about the Doctor Strange in the Spider-Man film, the No Way Home film, why some things in it were silly. And obviously last time I did a video I read from an article, there was a sciencey one about shadow people and stuff like that, about dark matter universes and all that stuff. But I saw this and I'm not sure it's true, because to be fair, it's been years since I've read Marvel comics. So I'm not quite in with the comic thing, you know, in the comics world sort of thing. But anyway, as you know, things I'm aware of, you've got like in the cartoons. Actually, I did watch cartoons, so I mean, and films. So I don't know what's going on. I do know what's going on, but I don't know the comic book origins as well necessarily, because I haven't read them in years. But well, I've got a big collection, omnibus of Doctor Strange stories. But anyway, so with the the DCU, you got the Dark Justice League, which was Swamp Thing, Constantine, Zatanna, and yeah, basically Magic affiliated characters. I think Batman as well. I can't remember now. But you know which one's about that. Also, in the animated one, Doctor Strange had a team of people. Can't remember what the name of them was called. It didn't come to me. It's only just come to me now to think about it. But it was one was a shield agent who was a zombie, if I'm right. And there was this vampire, werewolf, and a thing that looked like Swamp Thing or Man Thing. That was it. So he had his own team of that, plus with the Hulk helping him out. So some of them, you know, he would use them in that particular story. This particular story about Nightmare taking over people, and in order to protect his body while he was doing astral projection inside the Hulk, he needed this team to watch over and defend his way. So anyway, so just like DCU, also they got the Illuminati as well, which was Iron Man, Mr. Fantastic, Doctor Strange, Professor X. Now, from this, what I've gathered this here, they've got, obviously you'll know who they are if you read the comics. Like I said, there's so much to keep up on these days. I mean, so much to do. Fortunately, I've got the time, but hopefully, you know, when my child takes off, I can then catch up. You know, I mean, have that free time to catch up, whatever. But anyway, so this one is a possible plot concerning. Shall I stick this up here? Actually, I'll see how it go, because I can't remember where I put it for the last article I read. But if I make it smaller, this is a possible idea for Phase 4, and it is: who are the Midnight Suns, and are they coming to the MCU? So, so from this picture here, you got Doctor Strange, Blade, Moon Knight, Morbius, Punisher, and Ghost Rider. Marvel's ties to the occult magic run deep in the comics. Naturally, characters like Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch are the forefront of that, but there are many more. Some characters like Ghost Rider and Blade are well known. Other mythical characters like Shaman and Dr. Voodoo are not well known outside the comic book circles. With the Midnight Suns potentially coming to the MCU, that might be changing. Oh, so they might potentially. So that'd be cool. I like dark, you know, spooky stuff. You know, I mean, sort of borderline horror stuff. Because Multiverse Madness is supposed to be dark, so this should be dark. You know, it should be interesting. So, like many superhero teams, the Midnight Suns have gone through a couple of different lineup changes in different eras. What hasn't changed is the fact that this crew takes on some pretty deadly occult threats. Often Lilith and her Linen. Where is it? Ah, here you go. Look for a puff. Linen, and as an increasing number of pieces fall into place, there is an ever-increasing potential that fans may get to see a version of Midnight Suns in the MCU. It might even be sooner than they think. Sounds interesting. Also interesting, just a side note, I'm not sure if you noticed, but apparently Arnold Schwarzenegger's tweeted a film called Zeus, which looks interesting. The post looks interesting, so that'd be interesting. The Midnight Suns arrive. It was back in 1992 when the first version of the Midnight Suns made its debut in Marvel Comics. This was the time when then Danny Ketch version of Ghost Rider was a prompt character and riding around with his predecessor Johnny Blaze, which they say about things about Multiverse of Madness. They said because there's so many cameos. I'm thinking my worries is I hope they don't overdo it, because I don't want too much being taken off of Doctor Strange, because don't forget with Spider-Man No Way Home, yes, he wasn't a big part of the film, but then from mid-film all the way to the end, the whole focus was on Spider-Man solving the problem, and then Strange comes at the end. Oh, sorry, potential spoiler. Whoops. So even though it'd be nice, and thing because of the popularity of the cameos, surprise guest cameos like Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire said to be in Multiverse Madness, which I wouldn't be surprised, because him and Sam Raimi are really good friends. So that's not a hard one to do. And plus, with Wolverine, that's potentially confirmed because Hugh Jackman's getting back in the gym and getting jacked up again. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. And yeah, that's good. I'm so stoked for that. The trailer looks awesome. It's got, you see Strange Supreme in it. I'm so pumped for that. But the problem is also there's going to be lots of cameos. There's going to be potentially Ghost Rider. We're not sure if it's going to be Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider. The thing is, they can't. My problem is they can't introduce new actors if you're doing the Garfield or the Tobey Maguire number with Multiverse of Madness. Even though John McAvoy is a wonderful, brilliant Professor X, it will definitely has to be all the old school classics. So if it's Mr. Fantastic is in it, the Illuminati, I can't remember his name, but it has to be the guy who plays Hornblower in the original one with Jessica. Is it Jessica Alba? Where Chris Evans, who plays Captain America, then played Johnny Storm in that version, iteration. That'd also be interesting as well. His doppelganger. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? So yeah, well, it's like, well, to make the people go wild, especially if you're doing a No Way Home number, you need to keep it so it's people familiarities, not a new cast, if that makes sense. Obviously, they got Tom Cruise doing a potential cameo, but there is a history behind that. For anyone who's looked at what happened behind the Iron Man films, because he was originally going to be casted as Iron Man. So that's why that's happening. So he's going to be playing a variant of that, a variant of Iron Man. Whether that means he'll be replacing Iron Man in the future, who knows? Because the problem is Robert Downey Jr. doesn't want to come back, because he says he might come back in hologram form if he needs to be filming, but he doesn't want to come back as the live character, living and breathing character, because he'll figure it'll ruin the sacrifice at the end. It will take that way, that moment as well. So with the Professor X, it only makes sense that it's Patrick Stewart, and if you have Wolverine, it's got to be Hugh Jackman. So with Ghost Rider, it's going to be Nicolas Cage in it. So if they're going to bring Ghost Rider into Multiverse Madness, as I said, it's got to be somewhat familiar, and not be funny, or horrible. But Blade, I know they're going to do a new Blade remake, but you got to have Wesley Snipes. Especially if you're going to do a No Way Home number. But if not, if it's a separate film and they're going to bring Moon Knight and all that line, then this is probably what they're going to talk about here. But if they're going to introduce any of these characters I mentioned here into the Multiverse of Madness, I mean, they could still have the original cameos of the OG ones, and it'll be different in the future films coming up. It could be just a one-off sort of thing. And they can then start a new film with origin stories, whatever. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable. My leg's gone dead. So yeah, I thought I'd throw that bit in because it's like, because some of these in there here. That's why they wrote an article on it, Midnight Suns, and why I suspect they think it's going to happen soon. I think because of Multiverse of Madness. Anyway, so this was the time that Danny Ketch version of Ghost Rider was a prompt character and riding around with his predecessor Johnny Blaze. Again, if they introduce a new character like the new sorry, I thought Danny Ketch was the writer. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, so Danny, I can't Ketch, whatever his name is. If he's the new Ghost Rider, then yeah, you can introduce him in the film. But for the Multiverse of Madness iteration, you can put his predecessor in there, Johnny Blaze. So when Doctor Strange forms the Midnight Suns, you can have Danny do the job, as it were, take the mantle. So it runs around his predecessor, Johnny Blaze. Morbius and Blade were also experiencing a bit of resurgence in the comics. This era of cult and mystical comics benefited a few characters. As you know, I did a few videos where I talk about the magic of the MCU, all the collections for Doctor Strange and like the occult in terms of certain. Well, I've been doing it stages bit by bit. So you got the Book of Cagliostro. It was Cagliostro as a Freemason, etc. Who's had connections to cult, and there's all bits and bobs. Magamoto, you know what I mean. So the 90s version of the team was based around the aforementioned combination of Blaze and Ketch. Other members included Werewolf. That's it. That's the one I remember. He fought the Hulk in his cartoon. Werewolf by night. That's it. Hellstrom, Morbius, Jennifer Kell, and not surprisingly, Doctor Strange. Blade was also around, but he was a part of a different occult team called the Night Stalkers, alongside Frank Drake and Hannibal King. More than a team, Midnight Suns became an overall imprint for a family of Marvel titles that included titles related to members of the imprint's namesake team, as well as other groups and characters such as the Night Stalkers. While the concept did have some level of limited success, it had essentially fallen apart by 1995. At that point, many of the remaining characters were incorporated into the new Marvel Edge imprint. Return of the Suns. I mean, as a concept poster, it looks quite cool. The Midnight Suns would actually become part of the Marvel zombie story in 2009. We all like zombies. Morbius was brought in by Armor to prevent the zombie virus that was plaguing other realities from making its way to Earth 616, which is also interesting because you could tie that in with What If, with that zombie episode. See, that would be cool, wouldn't it? If you're going to do the tie it in. Because there's elements from What If, like Strange Supreme, which they tied in with the Multiverse of Madness. So, also, you know, it was a trailer, the buildings breaking away, like, reality breaking away like it did in What If. It's going to be good. 616 Morbius, conscripted Midnight Suns veterans, Werewolf by night, Hellstrom, Morbius, and Jennifer Kell alongside rookie Man-Thing. That's it. That's the team, sorry. Werewolf, that team I just said there. I can't remember if Jennifer Kell's the vampire. But there's also... I think that might be the team, actually. I'm not sure. I can't remember the agent's name, but he was a zombie. Basically, if he didn't eat brains, he'd lose the plot and start biting people. Which, that's going to be funny as hell. It's like, quick, feed him. He's like, in a way, he could tear his arm off. If he couldn't get through a door, he'd just rip his arm off and the arm will go and unlock it. It's hilarious. The team wouldn't return again for almost a decade. During the Damnation storyline in 2018, a new iteration of the Midnight Suns emerged. In the 1990s, the team was formed to fight Lilith and her evil offspring known as the Lilin. This time they were brought together to take down Mephisto, who had essentially taken control of Las Vegas. That being said, there is an argument to be made that he already had a pretty strong foothold in Sin City. Incidentally, before I forget, I may do a review of the Book of Vishante, which is a Marvel official book released. It's got all the mythos and some spells of the Doctor Strange universe. It mentions Nightmare, Mephisto, Dormammu, who's got stone in it. It looks really good. The illustrations are really good. Imagine like the Book of the Jedi, where he had the text and the watercolouring sort of art in it, with sometimes a bit of side notes. It's got that. It's like that. It's really nice. So I might do a review on that as well. Doctor Strange was already in the fight, so Wong and the Ghost Riders Doctor Strange was already in the fight, so Wong and the Ghost of Strange's dead dog Bats formed a new Midnight Suns to help him. The whole situation with Bats required a lot of explanation. This roster was made up of Dr. Voodoo, Ghost Rider, Blade, Moon Knight in his Mr. Knight form, Ghost Rider, Man-Thing, a Lesser Bloodstone. Lesser Bloodstone might be the vampire. And Iron Fist. This was a formidable team, to say the least, and was definitely able to assist Strange. Basically, I think she's got a name or whatever that gives it away. So even if you didn't guess by her appearance, you can tell she's a vampire. Are the Suns MCU bound? Given the number of Disney Plus series and movies on the way, no one will be shocked to see Midnight Suns join the MCU. Given the increasing amount of mysticism in the MCU, it only makes sense to start putting the cult team together. Doctor Strange, Wong, and Scarlet Witch are already around, and Agatha Harkness could probably be convinced to join the team. Because from what I remember in the comics, the omnibus I got, Agatha Harkness does help him out. So I presume she does change her ways. You know what I mean? So who knows? Or has, well, it's one of those things. It's like anti-heroes, I suppose. She's an anti-hero, though. But it's also worth noting that Blade is on his way with a rebooted MCU franchise starring Mahershala Ali. Sorry if I butchered that. The Moon Knight Disney Plus series will drop in 2022, which is this year. We're in now. And look like it's going to get weird. And the Doctor Strange sequel is also out. Yes. This offers a variety of opportunities to introduce characters like Dr. Voodoo and Man-Thing. The Lesser Bloodstone feels like a bit of a long stretch, but Ghost Rider and a hopefully recast Iron Fist may finally make proper MCU debuts. Depends if you're going to do the Multiverse Madness thing with familiar faces. There are also reports that, in terms of Iron Fist, if that makes sense. There are also reports that Marvel are looking to add some of their street level heroes to the Mystic team. Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, has long been a fan favourite and could slot in nicely in as part of the Midnight Suns. Again, he might be in a Multiverse Madness. It's said. I think is it. I can't remember who played the original one. Damn it. Oh God, what's his name? Oh. You know what I mean? He was in the film with John Travolta, and he also was in the latest Predator films as a soldier of Tourette's. Oh God! I'll probably finish this video and it'll come to me. Saint Jane. You know what I mean? You know, it'd be good if. It'd surely be better if they use him. You know, depends where they're going. I don't know. We'll see. There are also reports that Marvel looking to add, aka Punisher, has long been fan favourite part of the Midnight Suns. There might be a stronger indication that Midnight Suns are on their way. A new Marvel video game, called Midnight Suns, is expected to be released in Q3 or Q4, whatever that is, of 2022. It features MCU mainstays like Iron Man, Captain America, Doctor Strange, and Captain Marvel fighting alongside Nico Monroe, Magic, Ghost Rider, Blade, and Wolverine, and once again they're taking on Lilith. Who knows? This could be a precursor to an MCU iteration of the team. Oh, that's it. Well, that sounds interesting. Because they're doing Phase 4, obviously you got... I'm not sure where they're going to go, because obviously with... because we're not sure if Wanda's going to be the villain, or the antagonist. Sorry, I keep getting this. But some words, if I don't use them that much, I tend to then forget which one's which. You know what I mean? I've got so much information in my head. It's yeah. Some plot leaks say Strange Supreme, but then again, Strange Supreme did redeem himself in What If. He's a good guy. It's like the Ancient One said. He's not a bad guy. He's not a villain. He's not evil. He's just misguided. He's just lovesick. There are some continuity flaws of that thing, because I did think, okay, even though you can't fix that point where it happened, I'm pretty sure he could have used the time stone to reanimate a corpse, de-age the corpse. I know it sounds a bit morbid, but restore it to the living point, because you're not affecting the past then. And not only that, with Endgame, it makes no difference, because according to physics, the problem with it is, the only problem with that episode is, according to Endgame physics, which is quantum physics, is he could save her, but he wouldn't be able to share that life with her unless, of course, he stayed there, if that makes sense. like Steve Rogers went back and lived that alternate life of Peggy, because what happens is you create a branch reality. So if he saved her and then he went back to came back to the present, she'll still be dead, but there'll be a branch reality where she's alive and with Stephen. You know what I mean? So in order for him to experience that, he would have to stay there and live that alternate life out. So by their own physics, but then again, you have to find some reason to send them over the edge. And I know what you're thinking. If they actually did things to the thing, you would get a 5-minute story, it'd be gone and dusted, and that's it. It's just too easy, isn't it? So it's either going to be Wanda. They can't do the House of M, because the problem is it's like, or they say she might do the opposite of House of M because she wants her kids back from WandaVision. So they reckon she might be there be mutants, but that's just stupid. That's a stupid rumor. Shall I tell you why? Because Professor X is already there. The other thing that actually does not make sense, not because it's hard to understand, but it is just silly, is that Loki in the thing supposed to have created these. Actually, there's the problem is also Loki splintered off alternative timelines. That's not a multiverse. That's alternate, because with science you have alternate timelines which coexist, and then you have alternate, which is like you could say an alternate reality or parallel reality, and you have parallel universes. Like they're slightly different, because what they confused the issue was with in Marvel, I find, with the fans, is the multiverse already was there, because, as you know, that's where the magic of the MCU comes from. That's where the sources of Kamatage and the Sorcerer Supreme and the Ancient One got their powers from. The fact she sent his astral form through the multiverse when she goes, who are you in this vast multiverse, Mr. Stephen Strange? So it's like the multiverse was already there, and then they did the thing with Loki, and then they're blaming Doctor Strange for the spell and No Way Home. It's like, well, no, that was if you're blaming Loki, it was the Loki series that messed it up. It created that madness, the multiverse of madness. And as a colleague of mine pointed out, I can't remember what the lines it was, but in that series he goes, if you do this, you're going to unleash the multiverse of madness. And yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think of that at first. So it's like, it's all that goes back to that 9. It's clever, isn't it? But anyway, so I don't see that working. So anyway, yeah, but the multiverse has always been there, because that's where they get their powers from, etc. So, and Asgard is actually in a different dimension. The 9 realms are in different dimensions. It's like, essentially comes through a wormhole, which is the Rainbow Bridge. It's not actually it's not meant to actually be in space, which is weird, because once Asgard gets to remind you, I suppose no, I was thinking because they're floating in space, aren't they? So, but then again, there's nothing to say they jumped out of that dimension into this space, if that makes sense, to try and come here, because they did try and come here, didn't they? And then they got stopped by Thanos. So yeah, no, so that still works. That's still okay. So yeah, so you have the different dimensions like Asgard, all these different multiverses, anyway, different universes. The multiverse is there, basically. So I'm not sure what they're going to do for Phase 4, because obviously it's all going to try and line up to Phase 4 with new possible branches of characters. Because you've got Kang, who's in the Ant-Man and the Quantumverse. And then, obviously, they're going to hint at Galactus, but I'm not sure. But I'm definitely not sure who's going to be. I mean, it looks like they're going to do a Professor X. If you know, like the X-Men did, but they try and take down Phoenix. They're probably going to do that with Wanda. But there's one plot leak that's saying, there's these variants of Doctor Strange and Wong running from Strange. Because Mordo says the biggest threat to the multiverse is you, Stephen Strange. However, One, there's lots of lines in the trailers for No Way Home that weren't in the film. And two, people are clever with trailers. Because when he says the biggest threat to the multiverse is, they could have cut that. They could have chopped it so it looks like it's him to throw you off. So it could very well be Wanda. There's also rumours because he's going to use the Darkhold to learn chaos magic, which is going to ramp him up because there's a bit where he fires out these serpents out his hand, like Strange Supreme. So it's going to be interesting because there's going to be a fight between them. Was it Wanda and Professor X and Illuminati? Because you've got Defender Strange. There's 4 variants of Doctor Strange in this film. You've got 3 or 4. So you've got Prime Strange, the one we know, Strange Supreme from the other universe, Defender Strange, who's supposed to be working with Professor X now, defends the multiverse. So what's the 4th one? Who would be the 4th one? Anyway, so yeah. So I'm not sure, because like I said, and also they're trying to amp it up to Galactus, so they don't want to rush it too bad, because Endgame was awesome, so was Infinity War. But the thing is with that, don't forget that was an accumulation of trilogies and story arcs coming into one. It was like the big crescendo. So I'm not sure what they're going to do. So anyway, but yeah, this sounds interesting. Phase 4, for a Phase 4 idea, they have because you've got Avengers, so you've got like Dark Avengers, haven't you? So that'd be interesting. And plus, to be fair, if you watch the animated, is it Avengers? No. It was an animated film, MCU animated film. It's got Hulk. Was that a noise? But yeah, it's got Hulk or something in it, and Doctor Strange. He has this team of like people, which we might have mentioned here. I can't remember because I can't remember their names. But it sounds like most of them got mentioned in this article, where the vampires of vampire, werewolf, and a zombie agent sort of thing. But yeah. So anyway, sounds interesting. Let me know what you think. As a Marvel, you probably read it or looked at it more than me in terms of comics. So what do you reckon as a Marvel fan? Do you reckon it's a good idea for Phase 4? Do you see it happening? Yeah, let me know what your thoughts are in the thing below. But I thought I'd just cover this because I thought I'd get covering news and adding my thoughts to it, because last one I did where I was reading an article was a science one, but I thought I'd do one for Marvel. So yeah, so it looks interesting, and I like it when it goes darker. And plus, I like the whole cult and magic stuff anyway, because that's why I like Doctor Strange. There's so much I have in common with that character in terms of martial arts, the cult, all that sort of stuff. It's brilliant. So anyway, yeah, let me know what you think of the news. Do you think that'd be a cool addition to Phase 4? Yeah. Anyway, if you liked the video, if you did, hit the like. And then until the next video, I'll see you guys. Take care. Be well.